Jordan Belfort. Stacking penny stocks while I'm flipping these birds. Sipping on Ciroc, trip 'em up with the words. I done popped the Molly and I think it's be my third. Jordan Belfort.
What is going on, Degen Nation? Ken and Kim here, bringing you another Fantasy Golf Degenerates podcast this week for the AT&T Pebble Beach Pro-Am. As usual, I am here with everybody's favorite Canadian, Tyler Tamboline. Tyler, what is up, my friend?
Not as usual. Last week you weren't here. You left us high and dry, Kenny, but that's okay. You're alive and kicking. We know you were hiding something. We talked about it last week. The week before, we had the photo. Couldn't see your face. I'm guessing hickeys, rashes. I don't know what it was last week.
You think that would stop me? You think that would stop me? I would wear them proudly. You know what I'm saying?
I know. Hey, it's all good. It's good to be back with you, man. Baroff filled in last week. Did an incredible job. We'll talk more about it when we get to the recap of the event, but had some good picks there. As always, literally every time Baroff comes on, we end up with some great plays down the stretch, some good fades, some nice, Taylor Pendrith down low. He liked him. I liked him too. That made a lot of sense. It worked out. A couple other guys too. But before we get into it, want to remind everyone very quickly, this podcast show is brought to you and presented by DraftKings. We'll have a great offer later. It pertains to the Super Bowl, so stick around for that. And then, of course, our friends over at Fantasy National, fantasynational.com/FGD. Get yourself 20% off your first payment, any package, to use the stats that we use. Kenny, Luke List, man, the guy got it done. Our guy over at Tour Junkies, man, DB, all those guys are so cool. Just to see him freak out. I know he was apologizing for it on Twitter. Do not apologize for that. That was an incredible time. I know that they've been on him for a long time. We've talked about him. Everybody in this space has talked about Luke List getting the W for a long time, man. It was incredible to watch. You love to see that. Someone that just grinded so hard. He went over and hugged his family and got involved with them before even going and shaking the hand of Zalatoris. Not a slight against him, just that's how much it means, right? They talk all the time how hard it is to win out on tour. It's just that wave of emotion. And then, of course, we'll talk about Zalatoris. He looked a little tight-lipped, clenched jaw, teary-eyed, actually, walking off the green. I'll maybe post a picture out later. I had to screen share it. Someone said, no way he was crying. I don't know, man. It was a big loss for him. It looked sad down the stretch, and it definitely didn't work out with those two putts at the end. But what were your thoughts on the event?
Yeah, well, first off, I apologize for missing last week. I had to battle a little bit of food poisoning, which is I wouldn't wish that on my worst enemy. Yeah, it was real. I actually probably I think I had some bad shrimp. I got a wing place delivery, and I ordered some shrimp from a wing place. Probably not the best idea. I've had that before. And so I missed that, and it sucked because, I had all this stuff planned for last week's pod. Meatloaf died. One of my, a great artist. I'll tell a story before we get into everything that's going down. But I was 12 years old, first kiss I ever had. I was 12 years old, Stacy Nam. Okay, again, it was a Bible study class for my parents. They used to go to people's houses and do Bible study and stuff during the week. They were pretty religious back in the day. And so, I went over to the house, and there, one of the girls from the church was there. Again, if you've heard previous stories, a lot of early teenage sexual encounters at church or church-related activities. So I'm probably going to hell. Sorry, God. I apologize. Not really. It was fun. But first kiss, it was Stacy Nam. It was in her bedroom. All our parents and all parents downstairs doing Bible study, and we were listening to Bat Out of Hell 2. I would do anything for love, but I won't do that. So first kiss, first titty feel. You never forget the first titty feel. I mean, that's something that just rides with you for the rest of your life. So, I mean, they weren't that big. She was like 12 years old, mine too. But still, I touched a titty, and it was great. It was spectacular. When you're 12 years old. So that was my Meatloaf story. But yeah, let's go back to Luke List. Luckily, I got him on Thursday night at 40-1. I got him on these type of courses where you play multiple courses and one is significantly harder than the other, or one is significantly harder than the other three. Pretty good time for live type bets. I think these 3 weeks, I sort of put a little bit more out. Saved a little bit for the live betting part because, the books can get stuff wrong. It's a little bit confusing. The courses they play, how easy it is. I mean, 2 weeks ago when Swafford won, I actually had, I think it was Brian Harmon. They had him at 1,000-1 on Friday. I think, or Friday or Saturday. He was 5 strokes back, and he was 1,000-1. I think he finished in second or third. So that I missed that on that one. That would have been nice. But I think when it comes to these type of events with multiple courses, I think you can try to take advantage of some numbers live. So I sort of put a little bit off there. It was a great win. I mean, the dude came out, a couple of baller shots on 18, really good putts. He had like an hour and a half break to wait for everyone to finish. He wasn't, like you said, he wasn't eating a sandwich with Sergio.
No,
like me.
he was not on the picnic bench.
He was
eating nachos.
He was missing 2 footers on the practice green is what he was doing. And I'm like, oh, Jesus, But, luckily he made it. I thought Will Zalatoris' putt on 18 before the playoff was going in. It looked like it hit something and just bounced 45 degrees to the left, which sucks for him. He played really well. Willie Z was one of my cash game cornerstones last week. I had List as one of my favorite play in the 7K range, and I had Rom as my favorite play in the 10K range. So I had him as my favorite play in the 9K range. So if you're a member of Gup's Corner, you saw it. He probably had a pretty good week. We all saw. The thing about it is, you see this with so many guys who are team no putt. They can go off for 1 week. We said this a million times. That's why we bet so many ball strikers who, Keegan Bradley's of the world and Kyle Stanley's of the world. I don't know if it's ever going to happen for him, but that's why we're on these guys, because they can just get lucky. He was, I think, first or second the first 3 days putting. He dropped to 8th on the last day, which is not surprising, but he did just enough to get that win, and a great victory for Luke List. And maybe Pat Mayo won some of his money back on all those Luke List bets he lost on.
Yeah, I think he said he's still down over 100,000. But yeah, that's one of those situations we've had it. Guys with Answer last year, with Finau forever, right after that first win at the Puerto Rico Open, which nobody was really on back then, and of course, and then following him all the way to the playoffs this year and get a win there. But just looking at the board, I mean, the Zalatoris thing is interesting. There's a reason. We've talked about this in the past. Baroff brought it up again last week. Him and I have talked about it before, but like, one win ever. The Corn Ferry Tour, TPC Colorado back in 2020. This is his downfall. It's like you said, you chase these guys. I think it's a bit different. I don't know. I know he was there at the Masters, came second. He has some other good results and whatnot. I'm not a Willie Z hater by any means. I'm just saying, like, he's definitely not a closer. It hasn't worked. He's been always top 5. 5th, 2nd, 4th, 10th, 9th. And golf's hard. I get it. So have all these other guys, but like, certain guys are different. Look overseas. Victor Hovland finds another W, right? This was the same situation. We've seen it with Morikawa. It's when they turn it on, it's lights out for the whole field and they close. That's what we've seen. That's what happened again. Hovland. I like what you said too about the come from behind victory here. Like, we knew that was possible. It was always the thing. It's always the thing at that course where you see it happen. Especially on the South course. So you look at it from in general, taking a guy back like you did with List. You'll see it again this week, I think. We'll talk about it more when we get into it. The betting board is ugly. I'll talk about that up front. I guess we'll do bets later. But like I said it today, I'll get your thoughts now. If Zalatoris 18-1 wins, I don't care. I really anybody can have that. I think if you're betting that, even if you put $100 on it, not putting anything against $1,800, but you win that, you obviously have more than just that bet for the week. You've got other bets out on the table. So let's say you're in for 200, he hits. It's like, it's almost like 9-1 that you got a Zalatoris win. Like, I don't care about that. So I hope no one took the tweet the wrong way, but someone said, oh, this, that, and the other. Like, I'm not going to bet Cantlay at 8-1. I'm not saying do that instead. I'm just saying this is why I would bet bombs in play. There's a couple guys. I got 2 guys in sort of that 40 to 50 range later that I'm interested in, but just thinking in general here, Kenny, this is a spot where we've seen TPJ, Ted Potter Jr. We've seen Nick Taylor 200-1. Like, I'm all about betting these bombs and guys 100-1 or, higher. That way we can have some shots that way and then just save some for in play versus if these guys beat you, the Tringali 30-1, the Mav at 28. Like, I can see why people want to go with that one because they don't want to miss out. But are you really missing out a 28-1 Mav? I don't know. It's to each their own. For me, we've seen it in the past. Russell Henley, the Shell Houston Open that year, he was 33-1. He put it in all of our face. Everyone said, I'm not betting that number on this guy here. He never wins, never gets the job done, goes and ships it at 33-1. I feel the same about that here. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, I think the live betting is the way to go for the majority of the thing. I do have 4 bets this week, but I mean, it's and a top 40 bet that I do like. That I'll probably say on the pod later. But I mean, I think one thing I'm definitely going to do is I think I'm going to switch more of my money onto the betting. I put about $500 a week in betting in DraftKings, and it's usually 400 to 100 DraftKings. I think I'm going to drop that down to about 350 to 150, just because I feel like, I don't know. You guys know I've had 17 runner-ups in the last 60 events or something like that, and I've had 5 outrights and a couple of live bets that I've hit. I just think how easily that could have turned around and just been a huge year for me when it comes to the betting aspect. I just think DraftKings is getting a little bit tough. It's tough out there on the streets, especially if you don't have the bankroll to play those really high dollar, low entry type thing. That's the way to go in DraftKings. The way you do it, Tambo, I think is the best way to go. Playing those high dollar, low entry type contests, it really makes it I wouldn't say easier, but better chances of winning and making your money back. I don't have that bankroll, so I have to play the $5, the $3, the $1 in cash, and so I can't afford to lose more than $500 a week. It's just not in my budget. And so it makes it a little bit tougher. And I think I could do better in the gambling aspect. And I think when it comes to this week with multiple courses, the live betting is important because you're going to, like I said, you're going to be able to catch these numbers from the books and you're going to be able to have a sweat. So I think, anytime this 3-week session of the year, I think you saved, a third, half to a quarter of your bankroll that you bet on for the live bets. I think that's the way to go. And speaking of Willie Z, the thing you got to remember about him, I think he's 25 years old. He sort of had a late start. Prior to, I guess, 2020, no one really knew who he was. He wasn't that big time golfer. He wasn't a big name, someone rising up. Now in the last 3 years, his game has been really, really strong. On the Corn Ferry, he had that win, a bunch of top 5s, bunch of top 10s, bunch of top 5s, bunch of top 10s on the PGA Tour. I think he just might be a little bit of a later bloomer. I think you can see him starting to come around. I think once he gets that win, I think it's going to come. It might, roll downhill for him. But until then, I think he's going to struggle in places like this where he has a lead because he's just not that familiar with it. And he doesn't have that I don't know what the word is, but he wasn't as touted, growing up. He wasn't that big name player. Like, you got to remember, Spieth had 11 wins by the time he was Zalatoris' age. JT had 9 wins by the time he was Zalatoris' age. So, I mean, Zalatoris is, I think, a late start. You see him in his late 20s. When he's still on the tour, I think he'll be fine. I just think it's going to take him a little bit more time than people think.
Yeah, I think it's harder for him. I think you brought up a good point. It's not like the guy's bad. All I was hating on today, someone said it, and I finally had to just reply back and say, look, this is not a blame someone or bad number. The whole point was, I don't care if Willie Z wins at 18 to 1 tweet. That doesn't bother me. To your point that you just brought up, the guy's still whipping that ass out there. Like, he's way better than Ricky Fowler or any of these guys out there right now. The talent level is incredible. The guy's just down the stretch. It was a lot better this week. One putt wrong way could have won the tournament. I'm just saying I'm not chasing that going into this week. And look, the field adjusted because the field strength is obviously much weaker here. Everyone's over playing in the Saudi. We've got all these situational things going on. I'm just saying I don't care if that number hits. I'll do like you said. I'll bet some bigger numbers, some bombs, wait for in play, look for options around that. The guy is still playing some incredible golf and played awesome. The funniest part was about that playoff. Couldn't have keyed it up any better. Spider-Man pointing gif said right before it started, and then the two of them literally go inches apart in the bunker to start the playoff. They go into the fairway in sort of the same situation. And Luke List did what, Benny Ann said it best. Benny Ann said, that's the epitome of what you do when you suck at putting. Put it close enough that it doesn't matter. And that's what Luke List did, tap in. And then, of course, walked up and tapped it in Zalatoris' face to say, like, you go make the putt. I'm done. I win if you miss. And, of course, that's what ended up happening, which was nice to see. So, overall, good event. I mean, Jason Day coming back, Rahm doing his thing again, playing absolutely horrible and still coming second by 1 stroke, had a chance to get the job done on 17-18 down the stretch. Neiman, some of these guys, but Rose and Day sort of battling back. Some made sense. Siwoo was in the mix. Billy Horschel, like some of the names that we're used to seeing. But any other thoughts on this tournament in general?
Yeah, I mean, I did like the Wednesday through Saturday. It was a fun watch to do it and watching on a Saturday. I hope the PGA Tour thinks about doing it a little bit more during the football season. It was great Didn't have to compete with anything. It was exciting TV. I don't know about the ratings yet. I haven't seen them, but I would think that they would be up for a typical final round competing against the NFC Championship. So I did like that. It was a fun watch. It was nice seeing Luke finally win. It was nice seeing all the stuff with his family, and it was a good tournament to watch. It was fun.
Yeah, I'm excited about this one too. But last week was still, like, sort of the first real deal with the two-day cut event, and then getting the Wednesday to Saturday. You brought up a good point. The only thought was that I had, and I know you talked a little bit about it with others on Twitter and different things like that, but I don't care about the college thing, because I think you brought up a good point. Like, it's not the same network versus Golf Channel, but at the same time, what about the fan experience, or I guess the fan ability of getting to the event Wednesday versus losing a Sunday, where people can, obviously have the day off usually, or the ability to get there on a Sunday versus a Wednesday.
Yeah, no, that's true. That's true. I don't think it's going to happen that much, but I think maybe just during this week every year, it's a smart move. Yeah, because you have football, NFL for the early part of January too on Saturday, so it probably still wouldn't work. But I was a fan of it. It was fun to watch, and it was a good event, and it was a nice little moneymaker. Especially, I had a great week in football too. I took the underdogs in a parlay. It was nice. It was a good betting week once again. All right, so let's go ahead and get to the listener league for this week. One thing before listener league, I think I've won every single 3-man this year so far, Tambo.
It's been bad. I know that.
I'm pretty sure I've won every single 3-man so far this year. Just letting you guys know out there in the fantasy golf degenerate nation that I've been taking Tambo down week in and week out. So let's go ahead and get to this listener league. The winner was Lion Eye Bob, 1977. The name sounds familiar. I don't know if he's won before, but I know he's played in a bunch of our events. I'm not sure what his avatar is. It looks like a Civil War soldier. I don't know. So he had Will Zalatoris, of course, 22% owned, came in second place. Mark Leishman, who I was a fan of last week, I think he's going to come up here and have a win this season, and probably here soon. 11% owned, finished in 16th. Maverick McNeely, 17%. He finished in 30th, but he did outscore Mark Leishman by 7 points. Luke List, the winner, he had 30%. Great job, DJ Nation. Justin Rose, who had a really, really good week, except I know he hurt you a little bit last week. He came in 6th with that water ball on 18, 19% owned, and Ryan Palmer came in 16th. I think he hit the water too, right? 25% owned also. So what do you think of the lineup?
Love the lineup. Congrats to Ilney Bob, 1977. I do like that. It's a bear-off type lineup, and that's why some of these guys are in mine as well. Him and I talked through it. It was sort of a first thoughts lineup. He brought up my spot, and he had the same thing. Luckily, he still pulled it off in this tournament, but the thing was, and that's the challenge with the course, right? The South course is so nice. Love seeing it, championship type course. You're going out there, but on 18, it's the risk versus reward. And both Palmer and Rose had a chance. They were sort of in the mix. They got to go for it. What happens when they go for it? They both find the water. For Rose, it blew up his bogey-free day. He was bogey-free through 17. Chance to make just a birdie would have been fine. Get in with the 15 under. Instead, he goes for the bogey. 13 under, T6. You lose the position points, the bogey-free round, and the opportunity at what would have been the playoff, right? So going for it there really hurt him. And then you've got, but at that time, even like you said earlier, Luke List wasn't eating no sandwich or eating no tacos, but he was definitely warming up for a long time. Like, I don't even think he knew there was going to be a playoff the way things shook out. He was just staying ready for it in case. And then Palmer, same thing. It was the all 4 under 70. I think it was 2 under going in, and then ended up just blowing up on that hole and blew that up as well. So they still put up good scores, and overall the lineup was nice. I like the setup of 2 9Ks, 2 8Ks, 2 7Ks, sort of staying away from Bramlett down low, who had a good week as the chalk until he didn't on Sunday and blew up completely. 6 over on Sunday for him. Some other guys in the 6K range came through, but just in general, this was still a really nice build overall. And then some of the regulars, right? Gasboat, USC Biggie, Gore 49er, Winnie Boom Boom, all these guys up there on the leaderboard again. So awesome to see. We did fill it up, which was awesome. I forgot to check that this morning, but I know it got out late last week, or I guess it was because DraftKings obviously I didn't think they were going to adapt because of the shorter week. They still had football going on and all that crazy stuff, but Nice to see the listener league fill up. We'll see if we can keep filling it up quick and early. So hop in there if you haven't. 3 entry max, $5 buy-in. See if we can get it bigger by the time maybe the players, or if not the Masters, something big comes around. Maybe we can get it a little bit bigger for sure.
Sounds good. Congrats to the line. I'm Bob. We will see you in the 3-man this week, and I expect to win for the 5th time again this year. All right, so let's go ahead and get to this week. The PGA Tour, it heads a little bit up the coast to Northern California this week as players get prepared to play the AT&T Pebble Beach Pro-Am. 3 different courses this week: Pebble Beach Golf Links, Monterey Peninsula Shore Course, and Spyglass Country Club. Another event where the cut won't be till after Saturday, but it is only top 60 and ties this week that make the cut. As the name suggests, it's a Pro-Am. Golfers are going to be paired for at least the first 3 rounds. I think it's all 4 rounds, if I'm not mistaken. I'm not 100% sure about that, but I think it is all 4 rounds with their AMs if they make the cut. 6-hour rounds, pretty normal, pretty important aspect fantasy-wise. Let's just talk about one golfer that this really affects. I mean, if you think about it, you look at it, Kevin Streelman. He plays with Larry Fitzgerald every year. Okay. They've been playing since 2017. They won in 2018. They're comfortable with each other. Larry Fitzgerald's a competitive athlete. They want to win that Pro-Am. I think that helps Kevin Streelman out. And when you look at his results, you can see, pretty solid finishes here.
He's a pretty good golfer too, Fitzgerald.
It's true. Yeah. I think he's playing like some celebrity tour events out there. That's what I'm saying. He's a good golfer. It makes it easier for him. And Kevin's not out there playing with some bum who sucks, who's just going to get TV time, Larry the Cable Guy, or Ray Romano, or somebody like that who's out there just for a laugh. These guys are dead serious the whole time. It's something to take a peek at when you look at this type of event. And I think that's why I'm actually, if you've noticed me, throughout the years, I used to be a big course history guy. And I guess in the last year and a half, I've sort of come down on that. I haven't relied on it as much as I normally did in the past, but this course is different for me. I'm big on course history for this event specifically. And I think a lot of it has to do with the Pro-Am and also this type of course. Only one maiden winner since 1950. 10 of the last 13 winners have had a top 10 at this course or at this event in one of the 3 prior events leading up to their win. A lot of things can happen at this course. Weather, also a big factor. It is a shoreline course. Usually Spyglass will play the most difficult. Pebble second, Monterey third, but if the wind picks up, Pebble becomes the hardest. So that's something that you have to think about when you do Showdown once again this week. All right, so Pebble Beach, 68, 6,900 yard, par 72, 4 par 3s, 4 par 5s. 2 of the par 5s are reachable by everybody. 1 won't be reachable by almost nobody. It's 14. And 1 is reachable by the long hitters, number 18. It hugs the coastline, breathtaking views, beautiful course. Off the tee, the golfers are going to see fairways that are above average in size, bunkers, garden, landing zones. It is a Pro-Am, so I don't expect the rough to be, crazy high. But a lot of the rough around the fairways aren't evenly mowed, which could lead to tricky lies when fairways are missed. If golfers miss wildly off the tee, OB comes into play. Nearly half the holes sit alongside the Pacific Ocean. On approach shots, golfers are going to see real tiny greens, just a little bit of slope and undulation. The greens usually aren't crazy fast here, around 10.5 on the stimp. Lots of bunkers around the greens, lots of false fronts, and then they're going to have to deal with the bumpy POA greens. Spyglass, 7,000 yard par 72, 4 par 3s, 4 par 5s. All the par 5s reachable in 2 by most golfers. Plus 17 is a reachable par 4. Like I said, the most difficult course of the 3 in the week, unless there is wind. The first 5 holes are played among the coastal sand dunes, but after the 5th, it goes sort of inland, so the wind won't affect it that much. It's still a difficult course, but lots of trees, more inland. So if it is windy, it is going to probably play as a second most difficult course. Many more trees, like I said. Off the tee, average size fairways, just a few fairway bunkers. If golfers are wild, they have to deal with a lot of trees, some water, larger greens than Pebble Beach, but the greens have much more slope and undulation. I think that's why it'll make this a little bit more difficult. Monterey, the easiest course, 6,950 yards, par 71, 5 par 3s, 4 par 5s. Easiest out of the three courses. The fairway is above average in size. Greens are the largest of the three courses. There's going to be bunkers, sand dunes, and the ocean. They'll be in play for the whole week. And, when it comes to this type of course, 70% of all drives land on the fairway. And I think that's all three courses. It could just be Pebble, but I think that's all three courses. So a lot of driver in the bag, leaving the driver in the bag, less the driver off the tee. That's probably what you're going to go see this week. Tambo, what are you looking for in golfers?
Yeah, a lot of what you said, the setup shot is key, right? They're putting it out there, getting to the spot they want. So these wedges come into play, 100 to 125, approach game, second shot course, around the green game, because it is the tiny green. So if they're missing, going to have some good scrambling or around the green stuff. I think that's the main thing. I know you're going to talk a little bit about course history. You talked about Streelman already. This one maybe more so than most courses. Obviously, we've got ones like Augusta and certain others, but this is definitely the spot where you're going to want to bring that into play. And then the POA putting. In general, you talked a little bit about the patience levels. Streelman being out there with Fitzgerald, very comfortable, not a big deal. Taylor Gooch, not here this week. We talked about him at the Amex a couple weeks ago, was not very patient, was not happy with it, and he's not here. Rahm doesn't like the amateur setups, but that was to be expected. He wasn't going to be here anyway. So, yeah, it'll be interesting to watch. The one guy, we talked enough about him probably, but Zalatoris, usually does play pretty fast. So that's another factor to look at as well. And then you think about him, maybe it'll help him. Maybe he slows down, takes a little bit more time with those putts, he'll be able to read them a little bit longer as he watches amateurs hack it up around the greens and stuff. But I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. Before we get into the tiers though, Kenny, want to talk quickly about our very special offer we've got from DraftKings Sportsbook. DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL, has a huge offer for this weekend's big game. All new customers can get 56 to 1 odds on either football team to win this weekend. Bet just $5 and win $280 in free bets if your team is victorious. That's right, bet just $5 on either team to win the big game this weekend at DraftKings Sportsbook will give new customers an additional $280 in free bets if the team they choose wins. If Sportsbook isn't available in your state yet, you have something to play for this weekend. Everyone can play for their share of millions of dollars in total prizes with DraftKings daily fantasy football contests. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now, use promo code FGD, and get 56 to 1 odds on this weekend's big game. Bet just $5 and win $280 in free bets if your team wins. That's promo code FGD at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL.
All right, so let's get to these tiers. Let's start off in the 10K range. We have Jordan Spieth all the way up to Patrick Cantlay. How you going this week, Tambo?
Yeah, like 2 out of the 4 right off the hop. The obvious one is Cantlay. Talked about it earlier. People talk about can't win. The guy, take away his Memorial win, take away the Players Championship based on how the scoring sets up. He still has 2, but he did come away on paper with 4 wins, and he was literally the winner of the Player of the Year, regardless of all those factors. He got the job done. So I don't think that's the case any longer. I think he makes a lot of sense at 11-2. I like starting up in this range for the majority. Daniel Berger, obviously defending champion, but we've talked about this a million times in the past. I know we've mentioned it last couple of weeks. Rick Gaiman brought it up about weighted strokes gained, strength of field, that sort of factors. And you look at Berger in the easy fields is when he does the best. This is definitely a much easier field. So I don't know. There's a little talk about him, sort of laboring on Sunday and his back and sort of gingerly going about things, but he still had a pretty good run out. I think if he's really hurt or anything like that, he would withdraw. So I'm okay with him. And then, like I said earlier, Zalatoris, definitely not betting him. But if you wanted to leverage up on one of these guys, Cantlay and Berger, who should get most of the ownership up here, even Spieth could steal some ownership. There's a lot of narrative around. Last year is when he missed his last cut, was also at the Farmers. Then he got things right on this course and went from there and had his run till he got his win. So I think you can, do a lot of things here. For me, it's Cantlay, then Berger. If you want to be different than one of those two, I think you could start with Zalatoris. Don't expect him to win, but hey, if those other guys fail and he comes through with another top 5 or top 10, that's going to be huge on DraftKings and the scoring that goes with it. So Cantlay, then Berger, and then, third or least liked out of them would be Zalatoris for me.
Yeah, I'm playing Cantlay. There's no doubt. The guy's just been playing good golf. You saw him the last time out at the Pro-Am. Was in the lead for 54 holes before sort of collapsing a little bit on the weekend. So yeah, I'm in on Cantlay. I have no problem with him. I think I want to play the least owned between Berger and Spieth. I'm not sure where that's going to end up this week. I do like both of them, but I don't plan on playing three guys up here. So I think I'm going to make my decision based on ownership. If there was no ownership involved, I'd probably play Spieth just because I'm a little bit worried about Berger. He is a defending champion, so he might feel obligated to play here. Would he be playing here if he wasn't the defending champion? With all the commitments that he has as a defending champion for the event, after back and wrist problems is what I'm hearing. But always be wary of the injured golfer. So he's still on my radar. So I'm going to see how it goes this week with people talking and the ownership projections, either Gups Corner, Run Pure, even Fantasy National, whatever ones you use. I'll probably play the one that's going to be lower. So that's how I'm going to go about my 10K range this week. When it comes to 9K, I'm going to start with three of my cash game cornerstones here. First one's going to be Jason Day at $9,900. If Day is serious and not bullshitting about being as healthy as he's felt in years, waking up in the morning and not remembering that he was injured at all anymore, if that is the truth, he could be someone to worry about. He used to be the best player in the world, and injuries have really hampered him. He's changed his stroke to try and make sure he has the longer term on the golf course without the injuries, and it looked like it was pretty good last week. And he's coming to a course where he has, played well even when he was injured, even when he wasn't the Jason Day of 2015, 2016. And so I like Day. I'm betting him at 21-1. He's the only guy I'm betting shorter than 50-1 this week, at least. So I'm going to go ahead and take him in cash. His course history, my cash game cornerstones this week are extremely course history related, because my next one's going to be Maverick McNeely right underneath him at $9,800. I think a couple of top fives, a couple of top tens here back to back. The guy, is from this area, not too far away. He's played this course a million times. His game has been steadily getting better. He's become more consistent out there. You don't see as many missed cuts as he used to. And I think, coming back to a course that's comfortable, this is somewhere where I think he can win. I'm not going to bet him because I have Day. I'd rather have a proven guy out there that's going to take my short odds money. And it's going to be Jason Day, but I will use Mav as my second cash game cornerstone. And I talked about him already. My third cash game cornerstone is Kevin Streelman. I really do think the fact that he's comfortable with his AM playing partner and they are playing to win, that event, I think is the big deal when it comes to this thing. He's not lollygagging around with some bum for 54 holes. He's playing with a really good golfer, a competitive athlete who wants to win. And Streelman, of course, his course history here is impeccable. So I'm going for those three guys as my cash game cornerstones. I like Rose in here again. He showed a lot last week. His tee to green game, his iron game is strong. It looks like he's coming back a little bit. So I'll play Rose and GPPs.
Yeah, I like a lot of what you said there. I do have a couple different, though, to be honest. Just I get the stuff like you said, the course history and Day and Streelman. It makes all sense for cash. I just don't trust it as much. Our guy, speaking of, the resident fill-in last week, Ryan Baroff, put out a thread today on Twitter. It's interesting to see a thread in the golf space. We don't see them very often in sort of the marketing and money-making Twitter spaces. You'll see them all the time, and they get a lot of retweets and hits and everything, but it was cool to see a golf one out there, and he posted just the numbers on Day and McNeely, a little bit wary on them based on the fact it's a lot of short game and but it's been repeated. So, and if, like you said, if Day is healthy, so I get it. Other guys for me, like Tringali, 9,500. This is where I see that, yes, it's a price shock because the price goes up and the field strength is down. We know that's why it is the case. But if you just look in general, he doesn't need to win. He could be, in your case, the third guy in. You could go Day, McNeely, Tringali if you wanted to. Instead, for me, it could be the second guy, Cantlay, Tringali. You can set it up so much differently that you just still get him where he makes the cut, has a pretty good run out. The guy looked pretty good last week. Even at, the price bump is huge, 7,600 up to 9,500, but that's the field strength dictating that. So him, Seamus Power, another guy, I just think, look, he's already got the win. And now he's been playing some great golf coming in through things. I think he's a guy that could go overlooked just on the
He
other
looked tired.
lanes.
He looked tired on Sunday. A little worried about that with Seamus. This is going to be his, fifth event in a row? If I'm not mistaken, fourth or fifth event in a row. It's a lot of golf for him. Slightly worried about his stamina.
Yeah, we could do that for all the guys. Talent level, I'm basing it off that. And I just think he could go overlooked here when you've got Day, McNeely, Rose looked good last week. Tringali looked good last week. Streelman, who's going to get all the love, like you mentioned. So it's a range where play who you want. For me, I like Tringali, Power, a little bit of McNeely and Streelman just based on the history, like you said, but I lean more to Streelman than McNeely. I just think Streelman, like you said, it's just he knows the course so well. He's going to play good golf. That's just what you come to expect. I expect it to be the same way. So those three for me.
All right, 8K range, one of my favorite plays on the board. Going a little bit against the grain here because this is his first time playing this event. It's Christian Bezuidenhout at $8,700. The best from 100 to 150 in this field. You're going to see a lot of approach shots in that range. One of the better around the green guys in this field. His iron game has been really, really strong. I love him at 50 to 1 this week. I like his price on DraftKings too. I'll be using him a bunch. He is one of my favorite plays. GPP wise, I'm not sure how popular he is because a lot of people are going to be thinking my way, because the trends sort of speak out to it, but trends are meant to be broken. We'll see how it goes. I do like Bezuidenhout this week a lot. So he is one of my favorite plays on the board. So at 8,700, I like Hollywood Hoagie. I was just on the Golf Alternative podcast with Martin Mayo, aka Sundog Monkey. It's a new pod that's out that blends music and golf together. Let's just say my musical taste a little bit different than Martin, but go make sure you check it out on all the podcast places to listen to. He's big on Hoagie. He talked about him, the iron game being strong, had a really good finish here a few weeks ago. I will ride Sundog Monkey's coattails on Hoagie at 8,500 and Matt Jones at 8,000. Couple of miscuts in a row, but we saw what he did over there in Hawaii. Another guy who has done really exceptionally well on this course throughout the years, using that course history narrative. I think his ownership will be suppressed. You could get a little bit of upside from him this week, Tambo.
Yeah, a couple of the guys at the top. You mentioned Bezuidenhout. I know it's like you said, first time, whatever. I just still think his game sets up well for it. So him at 8,700, Lanto at 8,800. Really like him. Talk about good Sunday rounds, something we always love on this show. Had an incredible Sunday round to round things out. Last week was 7,700. Did not get the same bump considering the results. So I'm okay with that. I like just, $1,100 bump. 8,800. I think he makes some sense here. Tom Hoagie, I love you were, on that. I've actually bet him this week. As soon as I posted that tweet today, Feinberg posted on it. How about Hoagie 75 to 1? That made a lot more sense. I said, would rather that than some of the guys at 50 to 1 and less. So Hoagie, I like. And then Mito Pereira. This is a guy, everyone's been on now, not talking about him as much. $8,300 here. 3 Korn Ferry Tour wins is 3 times more than Zalatoris. I keep slighting this guy. Zalatoris is going to shove it in my face. Don't care though. Mito is 8,300 versus the price tag of 10,800 on Zalatoris. It's the guy that's got 3 Korn Ferry Tour wins and a couple close calls out on the PGA Tour. And in the strength of field, I think we could see more out of him there. Only other guy, I know Hoffman withdrew last week. Him and McCarthy down at the bottom. I've got a little bit of interest in, but much more in Lanto, Bezuidenhout, Hoagie, and Mito.
All right, let's get to the 7K range. Tambo, go ahead.
Yeah, just doing 7,500 and up. I'm not that high on very many here, but Russell Knox, Putnam, Joel Damon, and then maybe Minwoo was kind of interesting too, but maybe a little 2-glove Rye. He started Saturday. I know it wasn't your usual Sunday final round, but Saturday final round, he started very shaky. And that was probably part of the problem for the guys in that group because they had to watch him sort of chip it around everywhere. But so maybe a Pro-Am won't feel that much different for Zalatoris since the amateurs will be doing what Rye was doing early on. But Rye did bounce back, had himself a pretty good finish. He's 7,900. I could play some of him. Knox, Minwoo, Putnam, and Joel Damon, to me, is the best play down here at 7,500 for this range. Just think about the coastal win he got himself, the game that he's had, the ability to go low, getting the rounds, everything that we've got here. And then stats-wise, comes through, not just for the last 50 rounds, but when you tie it in with the last 6 months, plenty of rounds in there as well. So I'm good with Joel Damon at 7,500.
Yeah, I like Damon. I like 3 guys up top. I do like Michael Thompson, 5th and 11th in 2 out of his last 3 starts. The iron game's been looking pretty good, been good around the greens. So I do like Michael Thompson. I like Lucas Glover. Been playing pretty well, making a bunch of cuts. Had a top 10 a couple weeks ago at the last Pro-Am, if I'm not mistaken, or was it Sony? It was Sony where he got the top 10. Been playing pretty good golf. Gained strokes with his approaches in 9 out of the last 10. Team no putt. We've seen it happen again. His putting's actually improved just a little bit, at least in the beginning of last year. It faded a little bit towards the end, but maybe it'll come back. And I do like Russell Knox here. Another coastal course, short coastal course. That's sort of his thing. Iron game. I think he's made gain approaches in 5 of his last 6. He's had a top 10 couple weeks ago. So I like those guys in the top. On the bottom, not really big on anyone too much here. I think I'm going to play Troy Merritt. That's another Sundog monkey pick from the pod I was just on, so it's stuck in my head. Like another guy who just sort of comes out of nowhere on Birdie Fest, and I don't think the weather's going to be too bad, so this could turn into a Birdie Fest. Scott Stallings, another guy really good on shorter par 4s. There's a bunch of par 4s from 400 to 450 yards. I do like Stallings, pretty good track record here, 66 on Sunday. This past week, he said he thinks he found something. We'll see whatever the fuck that means. So we'll see if that comes to fruition this week. Who do you like in this lower 7K range?
I've got a few, and I think this just goes back to the thought process up top, strategy-wise. Like I just noticed this too last week. Everyone's all about, everyone's going to be so popular, and the chalk this, the chalk that. There was 3 guys over 18% last week, and that included Rahm, who we knew was going to be like 30%. So you can get different. There's so many guys in this 7K range, and everyone's going to have their choices. It's going to get spread out, and then of course some chalk gets there. Look, last week, Luke List, Tringali, who else? A couple of the other guys I'm trying to think at the top that were there. John Rahm himself. So just going through it, you can play some guys up top, even if they're owned, and then get different down here. For me, Patrick Rogers, I'll go back to the well at 7,400. Taylor Moore, I played Taylor Pendrith last week. He's down here as well. Saw someone say it today. I forget who it was. I apologize. But the land of the Taylors, Nick Taylor, Vaughn Taylor. Now we flip it up to first names. Taylor Moore, Taylor Pendrith. I think they're good plays down here. Alex Smalley is another guy I've been playing, and he's still showing up at tournaments and just going under the radar, not getting any price bump at all. And then Pat Perez, we just talked about it earlier with Lanto with that Sunday round. Perez 4 under, but the ball striking was just off the charts for him. So almost 5 strokes on approach, overall 5 strokes tee to green, just an incredible form coming in. He's another guy to me that makes a lot of sense down in this range. What about Sahith Theegala? Got to be feeling pretty good. A nice little round out there on Sunday. Nice way to finish out the tournament, and then walked off and got the Waste Management Phoenix Open sponsors invite. So he's probably feeling pretty good coming into here as well. You like him at all, or anybody else down at sort of 7K even?
Yeah, no, I didn't really look at him too much. We'll see where I go. I like a lot of these guys sort of in the upper 6K better. We'll go ahead and start. I like Ryan Armour again. Short coastal course, top 20 last time out. 6.5 strokes gained with his irons. You see him with a lot of good back-to-back finishes. I mean, if you look through his career, he finished what? 5th of the Barbasol this past July, 6th the next week in the 3M Open. You go a little bit farther, 6th of the Travelers in 2020. The following week, 4th of the Rocket Mortgage. It sort of seems like he does a thing where, 8th at Bermuda, 33rd at the OHL. He has these like 2-week spans where he's pretty good. And 6.5 strokes gained with his irons is one of the best he's ever done in his career. At the, I think it was Sony a couple weeks ago, was one of my cash game cornerstones. Worked out well for me. I'll go back to him on a short coastal course. Another guy I do like, Satoshi Kodaira, same price this week. I'm a big fan of him with his, when you look at his iron play, really, really strong with his wedges. His approach game has been pretty good. Really good on shorter par 4s. Another guy down here, Austin Eckroat, $6,800. Again, probably top 5 best wedge player in the limited amount of time that we've seen him in this field. in the last 50 rounds. I guess he's only played about 30 rounds competitively, but his wedge game, very, very strong. Iron game, really, really strong. Comes in 11th in my model in the last 50 rounds. And I will go with my final cash game cornerstone. We're digging deep this week. If I'm going 9,900, 9,800, 9,100 for my first three guys, I got to go low. And it was tough. It was tough this week. But I'm going with old man Alex Chayka at 6,400. Came in second here last year. Made 7 of his last 8 cuts at this event. Won 2 majors last year. Now, old people majors. But still, he won 2 majors last year, back-to-back. And it was on the heels of coming in second here. So he likes the course. His game is not over. I just need him to make the cut at $6,400, play all 4 rounds. That's all I'm looking for. So my cash game cornerstones this week, they're going to be Jason Day at 9,900, Maverick McNeely at 9,800, Kevin Streelman at 9,100, and Alex Chayka at 6,400. Team course history still leaves you 14,800 around there to finish out the rest of your lineup. So still plenty of room out there to do your thing. Who do you like in the 6K range, Tama?
Are you allowed to leak it yet that you might be going on a special show on Friday? Because Alex Chayka having 2 majors is like a Andercuss level take right there.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not going to say anything yet. I'll put it out on Twitter when it comes out.
Okay, we'll leave it at that. By the way, just going back to, forgot a bunch of guys in the 7K range, and I don't love as many 6K, so I'll finalize that. But Scott Stallings had a great round on Sunday. Like his stuff coming in.
Me too.
Wyndham Clark, another guy that I think makes a lot of sense here. Grayson Sigg, 3. So this is what I want to bring up. So you brought up Austin Eckroat, and this is a little did you know segment. You brought it up. We use Fantasy National for the stats. We talk about it all the time. Go over to fantasynational.com/FGD. Get yourself 20% off. And this is the running thing right now, Kenny, around the Twitter sphere of the last 50 rounds versus what did they actually do. Austin Eckroat has only played, so in last 50 rounds, he pops like crazy. Only, like you said, 30 competitively, but he only has 10 rounds in the last 6 months that he's played on the PGA Tour. So all those stats, like it's almost irrelevant. Past 6 months playing just 10 PGA Tour rounds, you go to Grayson Sigg, $200 more at 7,000. I don't care how popular he gets in our little bubble, 10%, 12%. I don't care. 3 made cuts with better stats in just January alone, has more rounds this month just going past than Eckroat has in the last 6 months on the PGA Tour. So that's just how it relates to models. You have to dig a little bit deeper when you're going into them. I suggest you get the membership so you can check out the tools. That's the guys for the 7K range. Dropping down, Mark Hubbard, Poa Greens, just the upside, 3 full rounds, all of that. James Hahn, another guy that's going to pop in the tee to green stuff. Uline. There's not much down here, though, and that's why I said I wanted to bring up all those guys in the 7K range at the bottom there. I didn't even mention Vincent Whaley, Chad Ramey, Bramlett, who we just played last week, played good for 3 rounds, then had a bad one. It happens, but all those guys in the 7K range can't have ownership. So it's going to be spread out, and there's lots of ways you can just finish out your lineups here, especially if you go that route you talked about using 3 9K guys. You just have no reason to even need to go down there, but I get why you're doing it, and you have a way you're fitting it. But if you want to go off Cheka and just have a different lineup, you could definitely just grab 3 7K guys. So I'm good with that. Anything else that you want to talk about down here?
Oh, good. Let's get to our bets for this week. I'm going to go ahead and start. I basically told you guys all of them already. First, it's going to be Jason Day, 20-1. I'm going to bet Day. Bazine Hoot, 50-1. I got Michael Thompson, 80-1. Russell Knox, 80-1. This is all on DraftKings Sportsbook. You could probably get better numbers on those last 2 guys, but hey, I got to support the people who pay us. So DraftKings Sportsbook, that's the way to go. And then I think I'm going to do a top 40 on Ryan Armour at plus 230. I'll throw a little bit on him as well for an outright, because there's nothing worse than having like a top 10, top 20, top 40 bet on a guy and that guy winning and you not having him as a winner. So he's 200-1. I'll throw a couple quid on him. And you can tell I was just on a pod with a British guy. Quid. But I'll throw a couple quid. I'll throw a couple quid.
Shout out Sundog Monkey. Love it.
On Armour. But I do like the top 40 plus 230 bet a lot.
It was just a fortnight ago that Kenny wasn't saying quid, but now he is. So that's good. I can't wait to tune into that pod. Love our boy Martin, Sundog Monkey. We'll have him on here again in the future. But for me, man, it's tough. I got one I'm thinking about. I didn't pull the trigger on a couple of these, but I'll tell you, the ones I did pull the trigger on, Lanto, 55-1. It drifted from early on. It was 40, went to 55. Right now, that's the lowest odds that I have. Hoagie, 75-1. I talked about that one earlier. Sig, 125-1. And Putnam, 125-1. Top 5 each way on all of those. The guy that came out after that I talked this morning to Baroff about ended up being Ben Coley, the Coley cover boy. And that's Matt Fitzpatrick. You can get him at 40-1. Look, it's like Zalatoris. So this is the other thing about it last week. I'm going to shut on him one last time. Zalatoris last week, even if you were betting him, I know people had him at like 35 or something. And I said, I was way wrong. I said, I'm going to bet Brooks because I can't imagine clicking a number, the same one on Zalatoris. He almost shoved it back at me last week, but you could get Luke List, who is Zalatoris with more experience, the same damn guy. Go back to the Spider-Man pointing gif and get him at the way better number. I think people had him at 80-1. That to me is the same thing here. Why would you bet Zalatoris at 18 when you could just bet Fitzpatrick at 40? The guy also doesn't have a win on the PGA Tour, but he has 7 wins on the European Tour. He's got the game. It's sort of the same setup for me. I didn't bet it yet, but I'm really thinking about that one. The other thing I didn't bet that I'm thinking about is these Hubbard and Watney bombs. I seen Mayo post them out earlier. Hubbard's like 350. Watney's like 500, and he tells a little bit of a story. If you don't have Mayo's newsletter yet, you got to get it. I forget exactly what it is, but go on his Twitter. He posts about it and tweets it out. Get on the newsletter because he had all the tidbits in there about Watney. And the thing is, with me starting at Lanto at 55 and then almost just jumping to the hundreds, you could add 3 or 4 of these bombs and just hope that you get one right. So definitely considering that as well. And then, of course, the in-play betting, Kenny, just to round it out.
Yeah, I'll definitely be live betting. We'll see how that goes. I don't post them all because, I'm just not as good at it yet. I'll post a couple, but we'll see how it goes. Maybe I can start getting better at these live bets. I did hit last week, so we'll see how it goes. All right, anything else we need to talk about?
One and done?
Oh yeah.
I don't know if you're allowed to share. I think you ended up having a winner recently, so you must be winning the tournament.
I'm in 4th place in the carbon contest. One and done right now. So
Keep
hell no, I'm not playing. I'm just playing. I'm probably gonna go Jason Day or Cantlay.
I might go Day because you're betting him and just thinking about it in general. I'm definitely not going Zalatoris. I'd like to find someone that could win here. So we'll keep saying it and see what ends up happening. But maybe that's a hedge. Day for me, I don't think I'm going to play much. So maybe I'll go Day. Streelman would be the other guy, like you said. You just rack up the dollars if you don't want to be too. He'll be owned for sure, but just get the points early and grab up what you can for money. And who knows? Maybe him and Larry Fitz put it together again, win the Pro-Am and the event again. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. But that's all I got for this week, Kenny.
All right, that sounds good. You can find me on Twitter at KendoVT. You can find my write-up every week on gupscorner.com. Use promo code Kenny to save yourself 30% on a membership, which includes a 7-day risk-free trial. If you don't fuck with it, you can just quit. But you'll love it. It's great tools, great articles, ownership projections, everything you need right there over on Gups Corner. And there might be an announcement here soon about me being on some show here with Pat coming up. We'll see how that goes. I'm looking forward to it.
Anyone good at math can probably put 2 and 2 together and find out what that equals. But we'll wait for the announcement. I'm excited for sure. You guys know where to find me on Twitter at ToeTag and Tambo. Hit me up there if you guys have any questions. And of course, Run Pure Sports, runpuresports.com. Go over there. Use promo code DEGEN50, DEGEN50. Get yourself 50% off your first month. Check it out. Same thing. Every sport, all sport, every show. All of my stuff as far as premium golf content goes. Wednesday show coming up starting this week. Everything to go with that. So check us out.
All right. That sounds good. It's a Pro-Am. It's going to be long. Hopefully it's enriching. So let's win some motherfucking money. DJ Nation.
I've been getting dirty money, Jordan Belfort. Stacking penny stocks while I'm flipping these birds. Sipping on Ciroc, trip 'em up with the words. I done popped the molly and I think it's be my third.